Wow. Baltimore crushed New England. If not for a couple of fumbles, would have been far worse. But let me say this about New England. I didn't understand how New England won the Super Bowl last year. I kept saying all last year, they have no vertical passing threat. Gronk's old and injured. Brady's just old. They were 21st in total defense. They didn't have an elite pass rusher. They were completely dependent on third down on Julian Edelman. And, oh, by the way, they didn't even have home field advantage last year. They had to go to Kansas City. I kept saying all year last year, they don't look like a Super Bowl team. And then they got to the Super Bowl against the young Rams team, and I said, okay, they'll win. This year, they look even less like a Super Bowl team. Gronk's retired. Now Brady's older. They still have no vertical passing threat. They still don't have an elite pass rusher. They barely even acknowledge the tight end position. Their first-round draft pick hasn't played a lick. And they lost their left tackle and their center, the two most important positions on the offensive line. Oh, my bad. Did I say they're also on their third kicker of the year? They were always good at that. Now you can't rely on that. But come January in Foxborough, Baltimore in New England, who you got? I'll probably take New England. Listen, they have one loss by the bye week. Last year they had three. And Lamar Jackson has only beaten one time that's gotten a second look at him. Cruddy Cincinnati. 99% of the time, here's how I look at New England. My eyes validate a dynasty. Serena Williams or Tiger Woods in their prime. They just look stronger and more powerful. The 70s Steelers. The 80s, 90s 49ers. The Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan, the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, Alabama football, the Miami Hurricanes for 15 years. My eyes told me they're bigger, stronger, faster, more powerful. But with New England, that's never the case. It's like they're really good on a bunch of stuff I can't see, like offensive line coaching and situational football and trapping blocks and shifting from a two deep to a zero blitz. And they've been fooling me for years. They don't look like a dynasty should look like. That's why I don't take much from last night. Yes, nobody on this show thought New England was going to go undefeated. We all knew that their defensive stats were better than their defense, although I do think their secondary's phenomenal. They played a bunch of crappy quarterbacks. Here's what I took from last night. A lot of stuff from Baltimore. Last night wasn't about New England. We know what New England is. Last night was about Baltimore. It was about John Harbaugh being disrespected for years. It was about the fact that Mark Ingram and Lamar Jackson are a pain to prepare for. In the new NFL world where practice, you use pads one day a week, good luck preparing for the best rushing offense by a mile in the league that's super physical. John Harbaugh, oh, by the way, he's now 10-2 off buys. And because they're so structurally excellent, some of their defensive issues and offensive issues early have been solved because that's what good teams do. Last night was about Baltimore. It wasn't about New England. It was about Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh and Mark Ingram saying, hey, we deserve to be in the Super Bowl conversation too. No, not just in it. We can win it. We went to Kansas City and beat Mahomes. We dominated New England. Nobody's done that in 10 games. Last night was about Baltimore saying, our coach is a top 3 coach. Our quarterback's harder now to prepare for than an old Brady. Our organization solved our cornerback issue and our offensive line sluggishness early. It wasn't about New England. This last night was all about Baltimore. And there were 2 stats that jumped out. New England's defense is good. Their secondary is great. But these 2 are Super Bowl winning stats. 4 for 4 in the red zone against New England. 4 appearances, 4 touchdowns. Couldn't say the last time that happened. And 37 minutes time of possession. And the NFL has always been about one thing. And this is something we talk about on this show a lot, but I don't hear it talked about on other shows. What's your identity? This matters for Fox Sports. It matters for IBM. It matters for Apple. It matters for Starbucks. What's your identity? Is there any team in the NFL that has a stronger identity this morning than Baltimore's offense? We run a lot, well, and score a bunch of points. I mean, half the teams in this league, Cleveland's got the talent. They don't know what the hell they are. Baltimore, and they did this very early with Lamar Jackson. You can argue they did it the day of the draft. They said, we're going to get big, we're going to get powerful, we're going to support this kid, and we're not going to force him to be what he's not. We're going to use what he's great at and develop what he can get better at. And once again, when it was all said and done, I don't get a loud, cocky, brash quarterback from Ohio. I get a kid that says, we're just starting here. Just a win, just a W over the world's greatest football team. And his answer is, all right, we've got a good game next week. I got to get back in the weight room, make my traps bigger, did that in the offseason. My kind of quarterback. My kind of quarterback. All right, so let's talk now about Green Bay. So New England lost ugly. This is not college football. It happens. Green Bay lost ugly. Here's the difference, though. I have seen Green Bay lose twice this year. It's not that they lost. It's how they lost. Philadelphia and the Chargers lined up and said, no, we're going to push you all over the field. And Green Bay had no answer. Okay, now maybe it's their young coach. Young coaches tend to not be the great adjustment coaches like veteran coaches. That's Sean McVay in the Super Bowl. Excellent coach. Didn't adjust very well. 65-year-old Bill Belichick's a great adjuster. So is Pete Carroll. So is Andy Reid. So is John Harbaugh. But I don't think it's that. I think it's the fact that, and I grew up watching Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard as fighters. They were both pretty, and they were both dancers, and they were both fun, but they could knock you out. They could knock you out. Green Bay is fun, and they're flashy, and they're cool, and they're quarterbacks in commercials. They don't want anything to do with tough guys. You ever watch one of those UFC fights? One guy's like, he doesn't look like he wants to be in the octagon. You ever watch a high school fight? The bully picks on the little kid, and the little kid, he's just looking for a teacher to come through the door and save him. Green Bay is not beating the Saints, and they're not beating San Francisco. Forget about the other conference. Forget about if they had to match up with Baltimore. Green Bay against Philadelphia and the Chargers yesterday, they're a finesse football team. And by the way, this is my argument against Kansas City. I love watching the Chiefs. I love watching the Packers. But at some point, you have got to impose your will on people in this sport. It's getting cold and windy. And yesterday, the Packers looked like they just flew out to Hollywood, had a good time, ate at Nobu on Saturday night, and then no-showed on Sunday afternoon. Now, Aaron Rodgers said this actually was the problem. This wasn't about being cocky. This was about you got punched in the mouth, and you wanted no part of being in the octagon. You had no interest being in that fight. And I get it. Some guys are bigger and stronger. But the Saints and the 49ers, well, they can be fun and flashy too. They'll run you over. Green Bay's offensive line, mauled. Defensive line, non-factor. Once again, their defense, opportunistic, not intimidating, didn't create a turnover with an old, unathletic quarterback and a below-average offensive line. It's not that you lose in the NFL. Everybody does except the 72 Dolphins. It's how you lose. No adjustments from the young coach and no interest being in that football game. No boo on Saturday night and no show on Sunday afternoon. Get tougher or get eliminated quickly in the NFC. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.